Hello YouTube, this is Derek from Tap and Turn Gaming, and I want to talk to you today about a deck that's really near and dear to my heart, and that is my Karador Ghost Chieftain EDH deck. What really makes this deck special to me is that it's gone through so many changes and been with me for a very, very long time. It's also the type of deck that can make games easily turn into a 3 or 4-on-1 against you because the deck just never dies. It has a nickname. It's been called the Organism because it just keeps replicating and replicating and never stops. It has a pretty excellent long game. Its short game is not good at all. It can't win quick. It doesn't win quick. It's really meant for the mid game to stabilize and the long game to take control and win. So tune in for the rest of this video and I'll go over the cards that are in the deck, and then tune into part 2 where I'll go over why I made choices and certain choices that I made for it. Synergies, combos, those kind of things. So yeah, let's go over to the deck now. Alright guys, so this is my Karador Ghost Chieftain EDH deck tech part 1. This is going to be just a quick rundown of all the different cards I play, and then part 2 will go over why I play them and what they mean to the deck and what they do for the deck. So basically, the general is Karador Ghost Chieftain. He's an 8-cost, 3/4 legendary creature, Centaur Spirit. He is green, black, and white. On the face of him, he seems like he costs a lot of mana for a 3/4, which he does. But what makes him powerful is that while he's on the field, once per turn, I can cast a creature card from my graveyard for its mana cost. It's pretty phenomenal to have a res available whenever I want it, just for the mana that it costs. His second ability is that, well actually I guess it technically is his first ability, and that ability was his second ability, but it doesn't really matter. His first ability is that his mana cost is reduced by 1 colorless for every creature card in my graveyard. What makes that really powerful is there's always going to be creatures in your yard, but once 5 creatures get in my graveyard, he only costs 3 mana. And if he dies and he gets a commander attack for that extra 2 mana, or dies twice and gets a commander attack for an extra 4 mana, and he ends up costing 12 or 14 or 16, if I have that many creature cards in my graveyard, it will still reduce his cost to 3. So there's been times where I've cast him 4, 5, 6 times in a game. His cost is up to 20 mana, and I'm still casting him for 3 because I have so many creatures in the graveyard, and then the deck just rebuilds itself very quickly. Many times has this deck become the arch enemy and had anybody going against it, anybody and everybody, you know, very political, people teaming up against me to take it down. It's a very powerful deck in the long game. Like I said before, its short game is not that good. But enough of that, enough of the general. We're going to go into the cards. I'm going to start with my basic lands. I run just 1 swamp, and I run 4 forests, and 7 plains. And then I run Murmuring Bosk, Rupture Spire, Command Tower, and Reflecting Pool for my 3-color lands. For my tech lands, as you probably heard me call them before, but that's what I like to call them, is my tech lands. Basically lands that may not provide my mana base, but they provide me abilities that are necessary towards the game. Reliquary Tower, Terramorphic Expanse, and Evolving Wilds to get my filter on. Grim Backwoods to be able to sacrifice a creature to draw a card. Emeria the Sky Rune, free res once I have about 7 planes. 7 planes is pretty easy to get to. Mosswort Bridge, because having 10 power for the hideaway is very easy to get to. Bojuka Bog for the exile. And then for my green-white lands, I have Wooded Bastion, Temple Garden, Selesnya Sanctuary, Sunpetal Grove, Selesnya Guildgate, Salt Crusted Steppe. My black-green lands are Twilight Mire, Overgrown Tomb, Golgari Rot Farm, Woodland Cemetery, Golgari Guildgate, Guiltleaf Palace. And my white-black lands are Fetid Heath, Godless Shrine, Orzhov Basilica, Orzhov Guildgate, and Isolated Chapel. I did a pretty fair job balancing out the amount of dual lands I have to make sure I get the appropriate colors. So I have almost, an even amount of the 3. I needed to make sure I was balanced out because I don't run a lot of basics. Now I'm going to go through the cards. I broke these up a little differently. I didn't just do creatures, enchantments, artifacts, sources, instants. I sort of broke them up into categories for what they provide to the deck. So these are what I call my reclamation spells. They're basically just a small package of spells that are going to be used just to get things back from the yard. And it's just regrowth, recollect, and down and dirty. Don't really use the down part for the target player discards 2 cards unless I have the free mana. Generally, it's the dirty for return target card to my from my graveyard to my hand. That basically just makes it a copy of Recollect. So these 3 cards are solely just used to get my stuff back. I'm going to go over my sweepers. Pretty basic package here. I've got 5 sweepers that I play. Wrath of God, Day of Judgment, Damnation, Life's Finale, and Phyrexian Rebirth. I run 5 sweepers because this deck can really rebuild fast, so generally sweeping the whole board isn't going to affect me too much. And it's usually going to hurt the opponent more than me. Even if it does wipe my board, I can generally rebuild fast enough to outrace someone. This small package of spells right here is my tutor spells. It's basically it's what they do. Green Sun Zenith, tutor for a creature. Demonic tutor, signed, tutor for anything. Beseech the Queen, tutor. Diabolic tutor, tutor. And Tooth and Nail, my last tutor. It was in the wrong pile, but Tooth and Nail. These are all cards that will tutor for the deck for certain things. This deck is very toolboxy. It's got creatures that can destroy any type of permanent. So if there's a permanent out there, I can destroy it, and these are going to let me find the creature I want to do it. That's the general way this deck runs, is that because Karador lets me get all these reses from the yard once per turn, I run a lot of creatures that can destroy things. So I win a lot through attrition. Like, I just outlast the opponent and I destroy all their things and slowly gain board. If I'm going to play a creature that's going to kill one of their permanents, I'm now up 1 on them. And if I play 2 creatures that do the same thing, I'm now up 2 on them. And that's sort of how it wins, is through attrition. These are my 2 rampy spells, Genesis Wave and Boundless Realms. Basically ramp for any number of permanents, and ramp my mana for the amount of basics equal to the amount of lands I have in general. Pretty good cards, obvious use. I'll go over the artifacts I play, only 2. Ashnod's Altar for the free sack outlet, just to get the mana. Sometimes I use it actually for the mana, sometimes I use it just for the free sack outlet. And then we have Saronic Resonator. This is going to let me copy all my comes into play abilities, all those triggered abilities I have. So when, say, any random X big creature comes in with a destroy ability, I can copy his ability and just destroy more things. Now I'm going to go over my enchantments. I have Oversold Cemetery, 2 cost. As long as I have 4 guys in the yard, I can get a guy back to my hand. Defense of the Heart, Grave Pact, Dictate of Erebos, Mirari's Wake, Martyr's Bond, Wild Pair, Deadbridge Chant, and Debtor's Knell. There is something really special about having all 3 of these out at a time. If you can manage to get all 3 of these out, and then you just lose 1 of your creatures and the opponent has to lose 3, it's a pretty special feeling. It really is, when you can just be like, oh, my guy died and you lose 3. That's pretty good. And then lastly, we're going to go over the creature base. The creature base is really the bread and butter of this. It's how the deck wins, is through just getting them back and getting them back. As you can see, it's a pretty thick stack of creatures. Probably almost half the deck is creatures. But we have Viscera Seer for the free sack outlet, Spore Frog for the fog, Kami of the Hope for the fog, Saffi Eriksdotter, Korsali Pride Mage, Fauna Shaman, Reclamation Sage, Eternal Witness, Big Game Hunter, Harmonic Sliver, Necrotic Sliver, Jarad, Golgari, Lich Lord, Disciple of Bolas, Sun Titan. Now, one thing that's funny about Sun Titan in here is you'll notice that there's only, I have a lot of creatures that cost more than 3. These are all my creatures that cost more than 3, including the 2 that I just passed. So he may seem like a silly choice, but he can actually get back probably about 15% of my deck. And when he can bring back something like a Necrotic Sliver or Harmonic Sliver or Reclamation Sage, or bring back an Eternal Witness who can bring back anything, his value is really there for me. It really is. He's really shown to be worth his slot in the deck since I put him in. Archon of Justice, Reveillark, Karmic Guide, Indrik Stomphowler, Acidic Slime, Puppeteer Clique, Yosei the Morningstar, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Harvester of Souls, Brutalizer Exarch, Soul of the Harvest, Luminate Primordial, Rune-Scarred Demon, Sepulchral Primordial, Sheoldred the Whispering One, Ashen Rider, Vish Blood Arbiter, Angel of Despair, Woodfall Primus, and Terastodon. So that pretty much sums up the deck. It's like I said, it's a deck that really, if you like the long games, if you like those long drawn out games where you'll just go toe to toe with the opponent and win in that battle of attrition, then Karador Ghost Chieftain is really good for that. I've seen many builds of him. I've seen Spirit Tribal. I've seen, just all kinds of builds. He's in pretty phenomenal colors. Having black, green, and white is just a phenomenal set of colors. All the ramp that green can bring, and the sweepers that white can bring, and the res that black can bring, it really is just phenomenal colors to really have any kind of build. My original build with him was very tokeny. I didn't have all these creatures that destroy things. I just had pretty much every creature created some kind of token, and I tried to win through Overrun, and it was very susceptible to sweepers. My current build can really go the distance, and as I said, it really has become arch enemy in some games where I'm playing with friends, and you get into turn 15, 16, 17, and it's really just everybody sees that I'm not dying. They're all losing stuff, I'm losing stuff, but I'm rebuilding so quick that it's really just not a stalemate, a slow game, but I'm gaining ground slowly. And then I gain enough ground slowly to just be so far ahead I can just win. So yeah, tune into part 2, and I will go over individual card choices, why I made them, a couple combos that are in here, and that'll be that. So check out part 2, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think.